not generating enough revenue. We can't keep up with the expenses. We've cut the thing to the bone. There's not much left in there. We're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.
Well, the goal is, I mean, the goal is making sure that we forecast out budgets, years out now, and underneath that would be this, the different strategies that he would use with that. It would certainly include revenue and expenses.
With revenue, how we can increase revenue, because that, again, clearly for the last 10 years, in my estimation, in this town has been the problem. We don't have enough revenue. We're not generating enough revenue. We can't keep up with the expenses. We've cut the thing to the bone. There's not much left in there. We're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.
Well, the goal is, I mean, the goal is making sure that we forecast out budgets, years out now, and underneath that would be this, the different strategies that he would use with that. It would certainly include revenue and expenses.
With revenue, how we can increase revenue, because that, again, clearly for the last 10 years, in my estimation, in this town has been the problem. We don't have enough revenue. We're not generating enough revenue. We can't keep up with the expenses. We've cut the thing to the bone. There's not much left in there. We're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.
Well, the goal is, I mean, the goal is making sure that we forecast out budgets, years out now, and underneath that would be this, the different strategies that he would use with that. It would certainly include revenue and expenses and everything.
Clearly for the last 10 years, in my estimation, in this town has been the problem. We don't have enough revenue. We're not generating enough revenue. We can't keep up with the expenses. We've cut the thing to the bone. There's not much left in there. We're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.
Well, the goal is, I mean, the goal is making sure that we forecast out budgets, years out now, and underneath that would be this, the different strategies that he would use with that. It would certainly include revenue and expenses.
With revenue, how we can increase revenue, because that, again, clearly for the last 10 years, in my estimation, in this town has been the problem. We don't have enough revenue. We're not generating enough revenue. We can't keep up with the expenses. We've cut the thing to the bone. There's not much left in there. We're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.
Well, the goal is, I mean, the goal is making sure that we forecast out budgets, years out now, and underneath that would be this, the different strategies that he would use with that. It would certainly include revenue and expenses.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian O'Haron on a nice summer day. We have now big news this evening. So stay tuned. This is not the time to tune out. I'm going to talk quite a bit about a big event that's happened this week. I'd like to say we now have a real good team together in this town, a management team, the selectmen and the town manager, and we're really poised now for success. So the first thing I'll do is I'll quickly go over with the agenda with you. Then I will go into comments, and we'll talk quite a bit in the comment section about the new news at this week's Board of Selectmen meeting. First on the agenda for today, which is July 24th, this will reflect the July 21st Selectmen meeting, are my comments, which will be considerable this evening, notices, and be mainly meetings coming up over the next month or so, a budget update, the Selectmen meeting, as I normally do, go through all the Selectmen meeting stuff, and then the town manager report and the meeting comments. So I hope I make it through it all. If I don't, I'll continue it next week. But I'm going to try to get through there, so I might have to move a little faster than usual on some of these things. As I said, some great things happened at the Selectmen meeting on Monday, July 21st, 2008. The greatest of which was featured over and over again, together with the credits at the beginning of this program, and will be repeated over and over again at the end of the program tonight, in case you tuned in a bit late. The Selectmen have acted unanimously, 7 votes. There are 7 Selectmen, 7 votes to include a major campaign promise of the businessmen in the town manager's goals and objectives. So they've agreed to a set of town manager goal and objectives, which was a campaign promise of the businessmen running for election last year. I'll read it to you now. It is a very important step forward for the town of Winchester, and the most important thing that the 2 major parties have agreed on, in my experience watching the Selectmen meetings over the years. The town manager's goals and objectives were constructed by the subcommittee of Selectman Fracasso, Selectman Perez, and Selectman Berlinski, agreed by the town manager and recommended to the Board of Selectmen for approval. I will now put on the board the information that I got from the town hall this week after the meeting, and these are the short-term goals for the town manager, who is the CEO of the town and runs the town, and hopefully has a business. And he's been here about 3 months now, so these goals he's already been working on, and he will be measured at the end of his 6 months when he's with the town. So the first objective is to complete job descriptions and salary and benefit agreements for all non-union supervisors and place on record in the town manager's office files. I'll tell you the significance of that in a few more minutes. But the big one, the big thing that's in these objectives is this one coming up: to begin a long-term economic forecast plan for the town of Winchester that includes, but is not limited to, current capital plans on file, anticipated contract costs based on current agreements, grand list growth based on past and forecasted growth, and current and forecasted economic factors at the state and federal level. So this is the embryonic step in constructing a multi-year, I always say 5-year plan, but this will be a multi-year plan for the town of Winchester that includes not only revenue, the most important ingredient probably, but expenses, capital needs, and sources of all those things. So we've crossed the great divide here, and we're going in a positive direction. And as I've been saying for a year or more, this is the greatest thing we could do right now, is to run like a business, and then to review that every 3 months and see where we stand and take corrective action where necessary to keep moving. So that is so important. I can't overemphasize how important that is for our town. Now, it will take a long time to construct a plan. The significance of the job description changes, there's many reasons for it probably, but one of them is to make sure that this kind of activity, constructing the plan, is in everybody's job description. That's how you construct a plan. Everybody contributes. Everybody works towards the same goal and the same objectives, and everybody has something. Not only the town people with the job descriptions, but the leaders of the commissions, the leaders of agencies, the Board of Education. Everybody is going to be aware of the plan, and hopefully everybody will try to contribute to the plan. The next one is to establish new partnerships. This was another campaign promise that these businessmen made, to establish new partnerships and to continue to work with established partnerships with the Board of Education with the goal of reducing costs to taxpayers. And I'm going to write them a little note, because I think, to the town manager, because I think they also, just to say here, and not reduce, of course, any quality in the education. And by the way, when we say we want to increase the revenue, we need the profitable revenue. We can't just have revaluations. We need profitable revenue, which means additional taxpayers of one sort or another to the town of Winchester over the years. I'm very happy about this. It was a great, great step forward, and the fact that everybody contributed to this, the whole team, including the town manager, is a very, very, very welcome thing for our town. Thanks go out this evening to all of the selectmen for this giant step in our planning and reporting, and perhaps a step forward in teamwork that has been difficult to achieve to date over the last 6 months. This, as I said earlier, is an embryonic step, for sure. But we are on our way, and the die has been cast for the probability of a major cooperation and success during this and perhaps future administrations. Tonight, I would like to thank the businessmen for making the goals and objectives a campaign promise and following through with their promise in a timely manner. I'd like to thank the Goals and Objective Committee for constructing the goals and objectives in a results-oriented manner. The 7 selectmen for agreeing the goals and objectives unanimously. That's a very, very positive step, and that's why I showed the 2 different parties talking together at the beginning of the show. A special guest tonight, I have 2 guests tonight. A special guest tonight is David Cappabianca for his timely reminder to the selectmen meeting of the need for and importance of the inclusion of revenue in the town manager goals and objectives. Of course, they probably knew that anyway, but David did reinforce it on the program. I was tickled pink to hear it, and I thank him for that. David was at his best throughout the selectmen meeting, reinforcing and redirecting the banter with his combination of education, he has a business degree, experience, knowledge, and common sense. David knows better than most of the need for this important feature of any business plan, the revenue. He has been beating the bushes at the development meetings for years, along with other members of his party, the Republican Party, and other interested organizations in the town of Winchester. There have been people from other organizations and other commissions and committees that have been interested in getting more profitable revenue into this town. Also, thanks to David for his timely request to the Democrats for budget reduction input at the budget reduction meeting that will be held on Thursday, July 31st, 2008, when they said that they would not be in favor of cutting the education budget. David also requested clarification from the town manager concerning the comments made by the Taxpayers Association and a list of reduction possibilities, and for a list from and a list of reduction possibilities from another speaker in the public comment. Thank you, David, for being on the ball. I know you've been around a long time. You have a lot of history and a lot of knowledge. Some people sometimes misjudge things, but I think you're a very important member of this team, and thank you for participating. Our next guest tonight, and you'll see his picture up and back of me after a while, was once again the town manager, Keith J. Robbins, who, as we know from the charter, and CEO of the town, and as such, is involved in running the day-to-day, month-to-month, and year-to-year operations for almost everything in the town, personally or through members of his organization. This has never been demonstrated as much as it is now. It's never been demonstrated as much as it has been at this selectmen's meeting. Robbins's participation gets stronger and stronger and stronger from meeting to meeting. At this meeting, he was well prepared. He placed all of the items on the agenda and has changed his meeting report which I strongly agree with, to reporting substantial issues that he has dealt with in the conduct of business during the time period. This will happen at every meeting, I hope. Keith gave a good accounting of his activities. This unfortunately opened up the opportunity for one or two to attempt to micromanage, but Keith fought back hard to ward off the attempts, especially when budget issues were discussed towards the end of the meeting. He also handled the unnecessary, boy, do I know my stuff, repetition expertly. Thank you, Keith, for another great contribution and for a better picture of you in your working attire. Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm going to the notices. The special selectmen meeting planned for June 30th, 2008 will be rescheduled for a future date or included in a regular selectmen meeting. That still hasn't happened to the best of my knowledge, and we'll let you know when we get better information on that. Now I want to talk about the budget. The second proposed 2008-2009 budget was defeated at the town referendum by approximately a 2-to-1 margin, roughly in that area, against the budget. The selectmen meeting to discuss the third 2008-2009 budget proposal will be held on Thursday, July 31st, 2008. That's next, not tonight, but next Thursday at 7 p.m. in the P. Francis Hicks Room of Town Hall. This is a public meeting, and public comment and input will be allowed. If you desire, prioritize your ideas and put them in writing. It's always best to put them in writing. And show up, if you can, at the meeting. If not, please submit your written priorities to the town manager anytime in advance of the meeting. I know it's tough for some people to get to these meetings because they work nights or they're on the road or getting home from work or whatever. So you can submit information all week to the town manager, and he'll make sure one way or another gets recognized at this meeting. The third annual town budget meeting will be held on August 8th, 2008 at 7 p.m. at the Gilbert School. There was a question at the meeting on Monday as to whether the Gilbert School is available. So this assumes it's available. If it's not available, I'm pretty sure it will be available. But if it's not available, then they'll announce another location for that meeting. There's plenty of time. It's going to be till August 8th. Attorney Judith Dixon has again been chosen to moderate the meeting. She's done a great job in the last two. People seem to like her, and she'll be doing this one again. The selectmen choose the moderator themselves, so we thank them for that. Anything you can do to make that meeting go smoother, take less time, and be professional is good, in my opinion. It is a public meeting, and public input will be welcome. And I do notice when I go to these meetings, there are a lot of children there. They're not just high school kids, but people bring their children and grandchildren along, and so it's always best to be on your best behavior there. Now I'm going to talk about the major status report, because over the last 3 or 4 months, I haven't updated the major status report at all. But now that we have this decision to have the town manager construct a plan for success here for into the future, they didn't mention 5 years, but you know, normally the Harvard stuff is a 5-year plan, but eventually they'll probably get there. But if they can get 1, 2, and 3 years in the next year or so, we'll probably be in much better shape, at least have a plan. So I do also want to warn you that we're going to see a lot of zeros on these plans for a year or two, because it's going to take a lot of work to get to the point where we can make ends meet here successfully without big demands on the taxpayers. So let's hope we get going. So for the major status report, here it is. I blew it up into bigger letters so you could read it easier. Elect businessmen as a majority of the selectmen. That's been done. Establish and publish high-level business priorities. I made that blue because that's happening now. with this latest selectmen meeting. Delegate authority for line management to make decisions 95% of the time. As you can see from the meeting, if you watch it on Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, most of the decisions running the business day to day are made by the town manager now and his staff. And when he needs help, because of the charter, he goes to the selectmen. And you'll see that very clearly. He put every thing on the agenda again this week, every single one this time. Produce a plan to achieve the 1 to 5 year financial objectives. That what they agreed they would start to do on Monday night. So we're off and running here. Review progress and make decisions quarterly. Once you get a plan and it's bedded down a little bit and everybody's contributing to it in the town and the commissions and everything, then you can begin to every quarter take a good hard look at it and see where we stand and what we need to do to keep on track, what we need to do to speed things up or slow things down a bit if necessary. So again, red means achieved, blue means in progress, but, that should be but there, will take a bit of time. And yellow means not started. And I can't emphasize too much to you that these things don't get done overnight. It takes a long time to plan. But we've started, and that's the first step. You got to recognize you got a problem, and then you got to do something about it. Well, we're now starting to do something about the real problem. And if we get this plan, and we all work towards the same goal, then we'll have better cooperation, we'll have better communication, everybody will know what's going on. And I want you to know that most of this work that's been done over the last 6 months has been done in spite of the flack in the town. All these side issues that have been happening have not deterred these businessmen from sticking to the critical path and town manager from getting their job done. So while all this has been happening, they've been working on the essentials that they need to get this town squared away, as I always say on my triangle. They're working on the downward slope. They're still up in the first couple of sections, but they are making progress, and took a giant step forward this week. The Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday. We have a normal call to order. Presentation of scholarships by the Laurel City Commission. Town manager put that on the agenda. Public comment pertaining to agenda items only. One person spoke there, and one person asked a question of order type question. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Boards and commissions liaison reports. Town manager's report. Pardon me. A request from civil service to hire an attorney. The town manager put that on the agenda. Town manager's goals and objectives, which I just talked about, and it was a great step forward, and the town manager put that on the agenda, and the committee asked for a vote, and selectmen, and they got the vote 7-0. Addition of new position, Assistant Director of Public Works / Facilities. This is another step in the right direction of the businessmen. It was one of their campaign promises that they would try to improve the relationships between the town and the schools in the facilities area. This is just one small increment in that direction. Resolution, the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, that's giving the town manager permission to do things. These were put on by the town manager. Resolution of a municipal plan of conservation and development grant. Remember I told you we're getting $20,000. That paperwork has to be carried out, so they gave Keith permission to do that. Sale of property at East Wakefield Boulevard, lots 29 through 34. Donation of property on North Main Street. Town manager put both of these on here. Waiver of outside audit requirement for the chore service, $3,000. Town manager put that on there. Then there was public comment. A couple people got up and talked about budget issues. Unfinished business, nothing. New business, nothing. Adjournment. And again, the policy is red. The green, which we don't have any this week, is non-policy. I changed the town manager to informational because it's mostly informational stuff that he does in his report. All the decisions get made in these other action items here. So, and then gray for information or public relations. For example, the handing out of the awards was more public relations and information There wasn't decision-making. All right, now we go to the decisions, these important decisions that we go through every time we have a selectmen meeting. These two are carried over still, but we did talk about Lambert K Joint Plan this week, and so that's good. That's still in blue, though, because it hasn't been resolved. But vote to deny civil services requests based on Attorney Victor Michel's recommendation and that of the town manager, Keith J. Robbins. Motion, Selectman Ham. Second, Selectman Cappabianca. Yes, 5. No, 2. Perez and Renzullo. So that request was denied. Vote to adopt the town manager, Keith Robbins' goals and objectives that we set forth in the memo. There's a memo that I have a copy of that I got from them and in Town Hall, and it's a memo to Keith Robbins from the commission, from the Selectmen subcommittee, and explains these objectives. So, motion, Selectman Perez. Second, Selectman Cappabianca. That was unanimous. So here we have two different parties recommending that we have a long-term plan for this town that includes revenue, expenses, capital items, state and federal issues, and everything else. Very, very, very positive. Worth the whole show in itself, and I think probably next week I'll talk more about this issue alone. Addition of new position, Assistant Director of Public Work Facilities. It was the consensus of the board to continue to explore this issue. That was sort of tabled while they explore the issue. No vote was taken. Resolution that the town of Winchester may enter into with deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security any and all documents which it deems necessary for appropriate, and that Keith J. Robbins, as town manager, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the town of Winchester, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents, and that Keith J. Robbins is the town manager and has held that office since March 31st, 2008. Whenever we get a new town manager, we have to upgrade some of these things, so he has the power that he needs to be the CEO of the town of Winchester. This is one. That was motion by Selectman Fracasso, second by Selectman Cappabianca, unanimously voted by the Selectmen. There's another resolution that the application for the Municipal Plan of Conservation and Development, PCOD, grant referenced in Section 13A1 and Section 32A1 of Public Act 077, an act authorizing and adjusting bonds of the state capital improvements and for transportation infrastructure improvements and concerning the Connecticut State University Infrastructure Act, and identifies Keith J. Robbins, town manager, as an individual authorized to sign the grant application and administer such grant. So yet that's another empowering thing for the town manager. If he needs help, he'll go to the selectmen either outside the meeting or during the meeting. Vote to sell the property at East Wakefield Boulevard lots 29 through 34. This has been on the agenda for many weeks. Motion to sell, Cappabianca. Second, Selectman Ham. Yes, 5. No, 2. Perez and Renzullo. So that was done. The next vote was to set a date of August 18th, 2008, for a special town meeting for the sale of lots 29 through 34 located on East Wakefield Boulevard, to be held in the P. Francis Hicks Room at 7 p.m. Motion, Selectman Liskin. Second, Selectman Ham. The vote was unanimous. Vote to table discussion on a donation of property located on North Main Street until the next meeting to give Town Manager Keith Robbins time to investigate. That motion was by Selectman Cappabianca, second by Selectman Liskin. So to table that one while Keith goes out and looks at it and makes a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. That was done unanimously. Vote to grant the Chore Service a 90-day extension for their audit. I went to the town hall. I said, what's the Chore Service? And they said, that's a group of people, I don't know, I think about 8 of them or so, that go out and help people in need around the town. And all kinds of things. Take them to the store, take them to the hospital, do housework. I don't know all the things they do, but it's a very good group. And they came to the Selectmen for an extension for their audit, and that was approved. It was requested to have the town manager ask the financial director, Henry Centrella, if he could review this audit with recommendations. Motion, Selectman Liskin. Second, Selectman Perez. Voted on unanimously. It was a consensus of the board to set a meeting for July 31st, 2008 at 7 o'clock in the P. Francis Hick Room to discuss the budget. Again, that's next Thursday. That was consensus, so you don't have a vote count when there's a consensus. I take these right out of the minutes that are provided to me by the town clerk, who does an excellent job. She usually has them ready a couple hours into the morning after the Selectmen meeting. I'm pretty sure she works in the evening after the meeting working on these minutes, and I thank her for that. It's very important to get this information out to people so they can then act upon it. It was the consensus, and again, another consensus of the board, no vote, but a consensus to set a meeting date of Wednesday, August 8th, 2008 at the Gilbert School for 7 p.m. as a third annual town budget meeting regarding the budget for the next fiscal year of 2008-2009, contingent upon clearing the date with Gilbert. The moderator to be Judith Dixon. So those are the actions that happened during this meeting. And again, red complete, blue in progress, yellow not yet started. I wish I could find a lighter blue for this. I haven't been able to yet, but if I do, I'll use it because it's hard to read the black over the blue. And when people send me things with that blue, I can't hardly read the black that's underneath. So I think it's a tough one. I don't know if we'll solve that problem. All right, total policy now since the election. Yes, 167. No, 14 previously. This week we had 11 yeses and 0 nos. And we get 178 and 14. And I don't add town manager anymore because I changed him to informational during his town report, because that's basically what it is. So 178, 14, 93%. Meetings businesslike, I'm going to talk a bit about that in my, if I get that far. The meetings businesslike, yes 17, no 1, and that's 94%. And businesslike again means people are not derogatory, they get along with each other, they do exchange information. Sometimes it gets a bit heated, but it's all done in a professional manner. That's what this means, a businesslike manner. So we've been holding up pretty good with these 7 people when it comes to that. I don't always agree with them, but they are businesslike. Town managers report. The town manager's report was rightfully changed this week from a list of people that visited with him for one reason or another to a report on important things that he is working on with others to foster or resolve issues. Now, in the future, once he gets a plan put together and agreed to by all the town people and the selectmen and everybody, then he can report against that plan. Right now, he doesn't have one to report against. All he can do is report against the budget for the year, and usually there's not much revenue reporting involved, which is very sad. A very big step in the right direction. Thank you, Keith, for stepping up to the plate, getting that format changed, and starting to deal with some meaningful information. This in itself will encourage more residents and others to schedule appointments with the town manager to exchange ideas and information as Orwellian management techniques have been kept at bay. We're not so interested in saying who came into the town manager's office this week, and what did they have to say. We're really interested in what did the town manager accomplish this week, and how did he do it, and what actions does he need from us to keep moving as fast as he can in the right direction. As a result of this change, the town manager gave an up-to-date on many important issues. It was a pretty long town manager report, relatively speaking. The sale of the Lambert K property owned by the town is proceeding slowly. Deliberations needed to get the most current and future use of the Environmental, should be an N there, Environmental Protection Association, EPA, money for the cleanup and related responsibilities thereafter seems to be the concern at present. So Keith and the people from Lambert K are still trying to understand exactly what the situation there is about the EPA and make sure that they can use that money for as long as possible, not just for this particular application, Lambert K, but maybe for other people that want to come to town and do work in the environment to get other buildings rejuvenated. The possible buyer and the town are still working towards a successful conclusion. There's a little bit of banter here that probably was unnecessary, but the bottom line is they're working on it, they're trying to get it resolved, they all have the best of intentions, and they're working towards a successful conclusion. There's no guarantee in anything, but the only thing you can do is have everybody pulling together to try to make things happen. The offer of free solar panels for Hinsdale and Bachelor to replace the $60,000 or so in the 208-209 budget proposal will most likely not be accepted by the town. There's no decision been made yet, I don't think, but it most likely will not be accepted by the town because there's a 30-year energy commitment needed. Now, if that should change or any of those circumstances change, that's another story. The town manager is pursuing other options for energy cost savings for now and the future with the purchasing manager, Mark Douglas. Now, I just want to say a little aside here. I know Mark, and I've been down there many times to talk to him. He's always looking for energy savings, always. And he will continue to do so because that's part of his job. So input is always great from anybody who can offer it to him. If anybody's got any good ideas, let him know. But rest assured that the town manager, the selectmen, and Mark are always looking for ways to improve in the efficiency of energy. Discussions are continuing on labor issues with the police and clerical bargaining units. The town managers are still working on that. The public works discussions have been suspended until the 208-209 budget has been approved, which it hasn't been yet, as you know, at the request of the public works bargaining unit. There's a mural in the center of town. I don't know how many of you have seen this mural, but there's a mural in the center of the town that was originally painted by representatives of the college. The town manager is now considering requesting help from a correction facility because he has experience using this approach before and believes it to be beneficial. The low-level inmates, if provided with tools and lunch, will work for 5 or 6 hours a day under the direction of a correction officer for each 6 inmates. Now, these are very low-level inmates. They're people who have done minor things but have been incarcerated for that, and they will do a good job. They will be properly supervised, and I think we could get up to 2 different groups, so probably up to 12 inmates with 2 correction officers managing them. So they're looking into that and see if that's a possibility for the town of Winchester. It's a good idea, and I've talked to other leaders who think it's a good idea, and they hope that it works. Everyone deserves a second chance, and this may do the trick for both the town mural and the inmates. The selectman, I think it was David Cappabianca, suggested that, oh no, it wasn't. This was the Selectman Renzullo suggested that a bridge and the wall along Route 44 coming from Route 8 also are in need of repair. The town manager will discuss this with the state. It was pointed out by David Cappabianca, Selectman Cappabianca, that experience has shown that the bridge being over a river will present environmental issues, and the Department of Transportation must monitor any work from start to finish. It was also pointed out by David that trees are growing in front of the mural blocking the view and should be trimmed. And I think the town manager agrees with these assessments, and he's going to go look with the state and see what can be done about that. There was also some question about the wall that's along Route 44 between Route 8 and the Dunkin' Donuts there on the left-hand side going towards Hartford, and that it's probably in need of repair. The town manager also said that he would look into that. 2 attaboys were given deservedly to the police for efforts on the Webster Bank robbery. Somebody jumped over the counter, reached into the cash register, took some money and ran out into the woods or whatever. And I think they're still looking for the person. And there was also a 911 call received by a resident when she found a strange man standing in her home when she returned home very early one morning. The police did go there and they resolved that problem for her, so we thank you for that. Now, I will say also that I went down to vote a couple weeks ago, not on the budget, but on the previous question about the 206 bond issue, and Officer Paul Vicari was the first person to vote early in the morning. I think it was 8 o'clock when the polls opened. I was there. I thought I was going to be the first to vote, but Officer Vicari beat me to the punch. So thanks a lot, Officer Vicari, for getting down there first thing and registering your vote. There were only 136 or maybe 200 votes registered in the whole day, but every vote counts, as you know. The skate park materials have been ordered, and work will proceed soon. The state park is still closed, at least it was Monday, and there needs to be some work done. And materials have been ordered and work will proceed soon. No completion date has yet been established. The original materials used to construct the skate park seem to be in question, and some vandalism still continues. Discussions will eventually be held with youth groups and other users of the park in an effort to gain cooperation and support in keeping it in tip-top shape at all times. If you remember, we had an experience, I don't know, a year or two ago where we had to close down a skate park for one reason or another as well. The town manager has contacted the town historian, as the selectmen asked him to do, Ben Thomas, as promised, and Ben Thomas will be providing 5 to 7 names for membership on the Danbury Cemetery Commission. I must have been asleep when I did this. I got a couple mistakes here, but that's Danbury Cemetery Commission. East End Park has been ready for the summer concert series, even though the first concert was held in the college auditorium due to inclement weather. A list of scheduled events can be obtained from www.townofwinchesterrec.org. So you look there or go down to the recreation department. You should be able to get a list of these concerts that are going to be over this summer down in the park. The town hall employees have requested a change in working hours in an attempt to conserve energy and other things, I guess. The new hours, if approved, will be from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and from 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday. That's if approved without change. It might be approved with change, but we'll keep you posted on that. And then they intend to be closed on Friday. That'll save us energy downtown. That'll save the employees energy, gas, getting to the job and all, and it'll save us energy getting down to the town hall. So that's all could be a good step for us for a while till we get through this economic crunch we're in. The town manager has asked him to take account of people using the building over the next few Fridays, just to get a rough idea how many people do come in on a Friday. And if that was the busiest day, for example, they might not approve these, and they'll change the schedule to make some other day the day off, that kind of thing. So, sounds like a good idea to me if the employees can handle the load in 4 longer work days. They'll still work the same amount of hours. It used to be in 4 days instead of 5. They'll work longer hours during the week on the days they do work. The building official has requested a change to the practice of waiving permit fees for all public buildings. About $56,775 was waived last year. Now, that is something the town manager is looking into. The selectmen haven't been asked for any vote on that. The seniors were questioned about the need for bus transportation to East End Park to attend the concerts. That's somebody's suggestion. But they felt that it was unnecessary. And the reason they felt it was unnecessary is because they like to go to the bingo on that night when they have these concerts. So they go to the bingo. And I want to tell you quickly a story that my brother told me when I was traveling the world. I came home with one Christmas or one holiday, and my brother, so I said, how's my grandmother doing? She was about 86 or 87. And she used to like to sneak to the bingo. The reason she snuck to the bingo was my grandfather, a Sicilian grandfather, didn't like my Maltese grandmother going to the bingo. He didn't like that at all. He had 8 kids he had, and they didn't all live through to fruition, but to adulthood. But he did have 8, and they were during the Depression and during the war, so he used to keep an eye on her. But she used to sneak to the bingo. And when I got home one time, I said, how's things going with my grandmother? And my brother broke out laughing and said to me, well, she goes to the bingo. My grandfather was long gone by then. And what happens is she yells out bingo when she doesn't have bingo. And of course we broke into laughter because that's the worst thing you can do in the bingo parlor. When everybody is seriously concentrating on their bingo numbers, hoping they're the ones that have the bingo, and then somebody yells out falsely that they have bingo. So I don't think they were too happy to see my grandmother show up for these bingo games, but I remember that story to this day, so kind of amusing. There is a good possibility of long-term savings and a good deal of seed and grant money to help in this effort. To pool resources, the major savings will occur in the sharing of expense equipment required, the maintenance. I think I forgot the introduction to that, so let's go back. I got carried away in the grandmother story. The town manager attended one of 2 meetings between the Torrington and Winston police departments to discuss regional dispatching. Now we get to this one. There's a good possibility of long-term savings and a good deal of seed and grant money to help in this effort to pool resources. The major savings will occur in the sharing of expensive equipment required and its maintenance over the years. So this is a good thing for this town. I did go to a police meeting before the election, and they did mention that they like to do as much sharing regionally as they can to try to save money for all the towns and to be more effective and more efficient. So thanks a lot to the police department for trying to improve in their area by joining together with other people from other towns. They do quite a bit of that already in for other activities they have. But this is the one they're working on now. Now, meeting comments, I'm going to whisk through these because I only got about 7 minutes left. But this was once again an extremely productive but not very efficient selectmen meeting. There was too much posturing when we should be spending less time posturing, more time getting work done and letting people get out of there so they can do other things. Don't forget they work all day, most of these people, and have businesses to run and schools to attend. So we need to get these things moving. Too much posturing and attempts at micromanagement. The select meeting, including the 2 public comment sessions and an awards ceremony, lasted about 2 hours. Probably accomplished about 45 minutes worth of work. That's the way it goes here. The meeting was videotaped and will be shown again on Saturday at 9 a.m. on Channel 13. Watch it with my comments in mind as part of your preparation for the next local election. The more you watch these, the more you understand, the more you know, the more you have knowledge you have, the better you can vote next time around. There was public comment on the initial agenda items only segment at the beginning of the meeting, one concerning the budget and one a matter of order. The minutes of the prior select meeting on 7/7/08 were approved unanimously, again without ceremony. Boards and commissions of the liaison reports were discussed only. The only thing discussed there was Selectman Cappabianca asked a question about the Danbury Quarters Cemetery very briefly, and the town manager said that yes, we're going to get a letter from the town historian asking with 5 or 7 names in for the selectmen to approve for that commission. The town manager report was excellent, can't say enough about it, and gets better each time despite the continued attempts at micromanagement by one or two of the selectmen. And I would say, selectmen, please watch these tapes yourself, and you can see when you're micromanaging, and try not to do it again in the future. It's very obvious, and it doesn't help. And I would say that in your own jobs, if somebody was micromanaging you all the time, I don't think you'd appreciate it either. So let's try to improve on that. That's the biggest area we have to improve on. We seem to be getting better with our newspaper coverage. It's not quite as bleak as it had been over the first 6 months. We seem to be moving into the right direction there. So now we just got to keep concentrating, as the Charter Revision Commission wants, is to get rid of the micromanagement. Let's let these pros do their job. I don't think, when I watched Kansas play football, I never saw anybody grab the ball from Gale Sayers and run with it. They let him run with it. They blocked for him, and they did everything they could to make sure he had all the help he needed to score those touchdowns. Now he's in the Hall of Fame, by the way. After probably too much discussion outside of executive session, the Civil Service Commission was denied a fund request for the use of an outside attorney. There was an attempt to micromanage the town manager in this discussion, and the town manager had done his homework and quite rightly stood up for himself. We need town manager to stand up for himself. We don't want him to cave in to this micromanagement. The selectmen acted on the advice of the Town Labor Council and the town manager. The vote was once again 5-2. The town manager's goals and objectives were discussed, as I have already mentioned, in the comment portion of the meeting. That was the best thing that happened ever since I've been in Winston. So thank you all for that again. We not only discussed planning for revenue, but also planning a few years in advance. Isn't that something? Planning a few years in advance, like you would for your son's college education or your daughter's college education. This beginning is just an embryonic step, but it bodes well for the town of Winchester and its ability to plan for success and manage for success. The businessmen and the minority have now come out positively at the selectmen meeting with a strong, unanimous vote on a very important issue for the town of Winchester. Progress is out in the open for all to see and measure. That makes it easier for everybody to do their job. If they know what it is they have to do and how it all pulls together and how they're part of the team, and everything they do contributes to the success of the town. It's very important for that to happen. It will give us balanced and future planning, and reporting will now begin to get the attention that it demands and has needed for years. The process, I must warn you, as I have been all this time, will take a long time, involving all of the town managers' direct reports, the education leaders, the leaders of the town commissions and agencies, and the electorate, we, the voters, in a very transparent and united planning and management process. By transparent, we mean everybody can see the plan, everybody knows what we're trying to do, and everybody can help participate. The effort will also surface some very disturbing news at first and along the way, as I always say, as the expenses for our demands will continue to outstrip the revenues for many years, I believe. And we must do something about it if we are to obtain our needs and quality objectives with a practical input on the present taxpayers. I only have a minute or two now, so I want to say that this was an excellent meeting as far as results were concerned. We got the biggest, I think, two of the commitments or promises that the businessmen made running for election have now turning into fruition. Some will still have some work to go, but we're getting there. The team is really moving in gear despite all the distractions around them from week to week and day to day and month to month. So have faith, keep an eye on them, watch them, and I think the next big challenge is going to be, there'll be other challenges coming along. We still have the mayoral vote to take, but when we vote next time at the election, the big issue will be, let's keep this team intact so we can keep moving. We want to add a few more businessmen, that's good. I don't think we should eliminate any, and let's keep this town manager around, or the new mayor, and let's all back this approach to getting this town profitable and meeting its needs and desires in a positive, well-constructed manner. Let's get these developments into town, give us the money we need to balance this plan, and get the town moving. Thank you very much.
Increase revenue, because that, again, clearly for the last 10 years, in my estimation, in this town has been the problem. We don't have enough revenue, we're not generating enough revenue, we can't keep up with the expenses, we've cut the thing to the bone, there's not much left in there, we're going to have to cut it some more now. But I think the answer here has got to be revenue generation, and I think we need to start looking at ways in which we can make that happen.